After all this time, how do you keep coming up with new ideas for segments?
Uh, I'm never entirely sure where the ideas come from, to be honest. Sometimes one of us will have an idea, or I mean, a lot of them emerge from beer, like all these things. Beer has ideas in it. Some of them come from the production crew in the office. Once or twice, they've even been suggested by viewers who have written in. Sometimes kids come up with great ideas because they're, things like Caravan Conquers, which we did in the old days on that other show, or car battleships, which we did on the Grand Tour. I think both of those were suggested by 12-year-olds.
From this season, what was your favorite car?
Favourite car of this season? I think it was... It's actually one I didn't drive on screen because Hammond did, but it was either the McLaren 720S, because I like mid-engine supercars, or it was the VW Up GTI, which is the cheapest car we drove this season, I think, cheapest new car. And I did that one, a little power test, although it doesn't actually have much power. But I like small, chuckable, sort of intimate cars. So I'm doing that, to help me express my feelings about small VWs. But yeah, so I liked that.
Good to hear. Yeah, we don't get that one in the U.S.
No, you don't. You get the Golf, which you call the Rabbit. Do you still call it the Rabbit?
No, it's the Golf again.
It's the Golf again.
This time.
I'm up to date, me, with the motoring news.
They might change it back. Who knows?
Yeah. But they don't give you the little one, do they? Which is a shame, because it's a tremendously funny little car. It's half the price of the Golf. So, yeah, I recommend it to all those of you who can't have it.
On the flip side, anything that you were particularly unimpressed with?
Cars, I was pretty unimpressed with my colleagues for most of the time. The new Land Rover Discovery has left me a bit cold. I was pretty disappointed in an ancient Mercedes estate I bought for one of our adventures because it was just rubbish, which is unusual actually because they're one of the world's sort of absolute old Mercedes estates by which the reliability and strength and dependability of other things are measured, but not this one. It was absolute rubbish. Bad choice by me, unusually.
Is there anything you haven't driven that you're particularly wanting to get behind the wheel of?
Oh yeah, all sorts of things. There's a new Rolls Royce I haven't driven yet. There's various 911s. The Ferrari, what's the new one called that replaces the California? The Portofino. I want to have a crack at that. I didn't get to drive the Huracan Performante because Hammond hogged it, and then it had to go back. What else is there I'd quite like to drive? I want to do a bit more driving of silly little cars. The problem I've always had with commenting on cars is I have great difficulty dealing with the bit in the middle. I like supercars, I like small hatchbacks and things, and I like things like little off-roaders like the Suzuki Ignis. I like all that stuff. That great spread of cars in the middle that we often refer to as sort of executive saloons and SUVs and so on. I have some difficulty relating to those because they just don't fit either my life or my ideas of what make cars interesting. See, can I go on about this a bit? I do like to go on. Because the car is in a very interesting time because it's sort of the most exciting time for the car since it was invented. We're sort of rethinking what it's for, how acceptable it is, how it's going to be powered, how it's going to be driven, all these things, the laws surrounding it, everything. But I think if you look to the future, when motoring becomes a hobby, the cars that will survive actually are things like Ferraris, because we won't need cars to get about. That job will be taken by something else. There won't be people who are driving cars simply because that's the best way of going about their business. It will be a hobby. They will be owned by enthusiasts and driven on certain closed roads, I think, and racetracks and that sort of thing, in which case you won't need to consider practicalities, and things like running costs won't really be an issue because it's a hobby. You're prepared to pay for it. People who go fishing don't complain about the price of bait, and people who go hot air ballooning don't complain about the price of propane that they used to warm them up. That's just a fact of life. So in many ways the future of the car is extremely bright for people who like them because the future's full of Ferraris and Lamborghinis and exciting stuff like that, Nissan GTRs. It's great.
So
it's a sort of a purging process. What it will do is remove all the people who aren't really interested in cars, but who just have one because they don't really have much choice. I'm pretty cynical about the future of autonomous cars, to be honest. I think it's a driver aid, semi-autonomy, yes, but the true autonomous car that we have imagined, you know, where you sit in the back and read the paper, everybody thinks that's 5 years away, but I think you're essentially talking about robotics, and they're always disappointing. So I wouldn't hold your breath on that one, but I may be completely wrong.
And what about like electric performance cars like the Rimac or the new Tesla Roadster?
I was looking forward to going the Rimac, but then Richard Hammond broke it, which was unfortunate. The Tesla Roadster, I was writing about that the other day, I think looks very promising. I've got a BMW i3. I'm on my second one, in fact. I like electric power. To be honest, we've known since the beginning of the 20th century that electric motors are a perfect way to drive a car because they're clean and simple. You know, you don't have any reciprocating motion, you don't need a gearbox, blah, blah, blah. The only issue is storing electricity, which we've always known as a problem. So, but I think we will overcome that. Battery technology, replaceable batteries, refillable batteries, or hydrogen fuel cells, which I'm a big fan of, inductive charging on the road, whatever. I think the future is electric. But again, that's a good thing for people who like old school cars and internal combustion engines, because it means we can save just a little bit of that fuel for the people who love it. Everybody else needn't bother about consuming those resources. It's all round good news. I don't see a problem.